Thanks for joining us again for another episode. Maddie is back on deck. Gibbo's obviously not a Crow fan.
Not a fan of anything at the moment, is he?
Yeah, he's a bit hard to track down, the big fella. He's got better things to do with his life, I assume. But tonight's episode is 1994's The Crow. But before we get to that, let's do a little bit of around the grounds. Jared, what have you been watching recently?
So on the weekend, one thing that I watched was I spent a fair chunk of my Sunday watching DC Fandom, which was interesting, good fun. In terms of movies and things like that, sticking with DC, I watched the Superman Red Sun adaptation, which was it was pretty solid. Wasn't too bad. It's just a good idea to explore that, Superman lands in Russia rather than landing in the States. So yeah, it's just a good concept. I watched some of the Harley Quinn cartoon as well. It popped up on Amazon. As we said, all this DC Universe stuff, which looks like the DC Universe will be gone in a short amount of time, but they're popping up on different services in Australia. So Amazon got the Harley Quinn cartoon, it's actually pretty good. It's like very over the top in terms of the gratuitous violence and the language and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The takes on Harley and splitting away from the Joker, and they're kind of alluding to the Poison Ivy and Harley relationship. Yeah, really enjoying that one. What We Do in the Shadows, still sticking with that. Had quite an amusing episode where Matt Berry got pissed off because someone drove past in a car and he heard Come On Eileen playing, and he's going, what the fuck's that? And someone tells him, it's Come On Eileen. He goes, bullshit, I wrote that in the 1800s. They go into all this, into this depth about all this popular music that he wrote, but with stupid other names on it and stuff like this. And yeah, it's fucking fantastic. It ends in an open mic night, which is piss funny. Outstanding stuff. This season I felt like it was a little bit more up and down than the last season, but that episode was top notch, so I really enjoyed that. Obviously, Adam, we'd been talking about some Shudder content.
Yep.
So I got through the seasons of Cursed Films, which I thought was excellent. Really loved how each episode looked at kind of a different angle. There was a bit of shared sort of... There was a bit of common ground between The Exorcist and The Omen, but things like Poltergeist shifted away and looked at different aspects of what a film can do to people's lives and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The Twilight Zone and the Crow episodes obviously affected in a different way.
I will never get over watching that Twilight Zone one.
Yeah, that was difficult.
It was very difficult to watch. And
there was no warning that it was actually going to show the accident either.
Yeah.
That was pretty tough. I also got through the season of Creepshow.
So did I.
Yeah. I liked it. Again, the quality varied. There was a couple of stinkers, but overall I had a lot of fun with it. You could see the limits of the budget in a few episodes too, but I thought they tried to cover it as best they could, other than a few episodes where it really stood out. The transitions with the comic book sort of pages and things like that were used to cover it up pretty well in certain episodes. But yeah, I just, I'm glad we've got something like that back. It's great to see. I watched Lake Bodom, which is from, I can't remember where, I want to say Sweden, but I think I'm wrong. But the story's based on a real murder, and then they sort of take this movie is just a fictional tale that's kind of tied into it. I'd heard good things. It was alright. I didn't mind it. There's a bit of a twist to the end, but it's sort of one of the twists kind of went somewhere, and then the next one sort of killed it off for me a little bit. I watched The Ranger, which was... okay. I won't go too over the top. I thought it had some good acting performances in it from the leads, and the guy playing the Ranger was kind of delightfully hamming it up at times. But yeah, it was nothing more than okay. I watched Revenge on Shudder as well. I actually really liked that one.
What is it?
Obviously, it's another rape revenge movie, which is usually not my sort of thing at all. I find that it's sort of an exploitation sort of fare, but I actually thought this one was a little less in the sort of gratuitousness of some of the other more famous kind of entries in that genre. I actually quite enjoyed it. I don't know. In general, that sort of stuff is not for me. But I'd heard really good things about this one, and it was on Shudder. It was one of this sort of collection of things that was on there early. So I jumped in, and I'm pretty happy I watched it. I thought it was pretty good. I watched Random Acts of Violence, also on Shudder.
How'd that go down?
I didn't like it at all. Well, the angle that they're taking is, again, it's an interesting idea. It's a guy who writes a comic about a slasher called Slasher Man, which they could have worked on that a little bit. And he starts finding scenes from his comics along. They're on this road trip to a convention sort of thing, and he starts coming across scenes from his comic. And it was sort of starting to go in the direction of we're gonna talk about people that try to exploit real life violence for their art, I suppose. And it started to go in that direction, but it just kind of left it. It didn't make any, for mine, it didn't seem to make any comments at all about it. And the entertainment aspects of it, the story, wasn't all that good. So, yeah, I didn't like it. Some people have, not for me. And another one, Adam, that we might differ on here, I watched Host, the one set on the Zoom meeting. Look, I'll give him points for creativity and getting something put together in restrictions and things like that. But I was bored to tears, to be honest.
Really?
I felt like it was just... It had a couple of moments that worked pretty well, a couple of scares, but I felt like it didn't have anything beyond the jump scares, and even then, they were things we've seen in Paranormal Activity and Unfriended. Like, we've seen it. So, yeah, I don't know. I know some people have enjoyed it. Again, probably not for me. What did you think? You quite enjoyed that one, didn't you?
Look, I'll tell you what. I enjoyed it because it was 55 minutes long. So, it didn't overstay its welcome, and those sort of movies can, like, even Unfriended, which I liked, at 80 minutes it was stretched as thin as possible. So at 55, it was pretty sharp. I only kind of threw it on because I'd heard some good things.
Yeah.
And I think I just kind of rolled with it and just was pretty happy with what I received.
Are you trying to make excuses? I'm hearing excuses here.
Look, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's never going to It's never going to win any awards or anything, and Unfriended was twice as good.
See, for me,
it delivered jump scares that actually made me jump a couple of times. Maybe that's what got me interested.
Are you sure you weren't falling asleep like me during Friday the 13th? That's
possibly the situation. I was in a slumber and then got woken up rudely by something. That was good.
So I was thinking the same. Like, I jumped in and I thought 55 minutes. This will be in and out like a fiddler's elbow. We'll be done and dusted. But I was like 15 minutes in. I was like, it's overstaying. And it started, look, obviously there was an element of building up to what was going to happen. But then when it started happening, it just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't raise the pulse. Maybe I'm
not going to lie to you. If I was on that call and they bring in the woman, who's taking you through the seance, I'd be giving it the old, I've got things to do.
Yeah.
I'll catch up with you guys later.
Yeah, no, I've just got to go and find my little totem thing. Click. See you later. I'm gone.
For Shudder content, it was probably one of their better products.
Oh, look, that's not fair, is it?
No, look, that's probably not fair. Look, it's funny for me because I absolutely despised Paranormal Activity. I thought it was so boring, and it was 85 minutes too. Like, it was sharp in that type of context, but I remember watching it and just thinking, this is just so boring. And so I was not exactly jumping up and down with excitement for Host, but I felt it kind of just ticked a few boxes, and I had a bit of fun with it, and that was it. So I was higher on it, but I'm certainly not going, definitely check this out. I mean, I think the critical response has been much higher than I anticipated.
Yeah, look, I'd seen a couple of outlets that really liked it, and which was part of the reason that I jumped on after you mentioned it too, that was pretty good. When I looked a bit further into it, it's kind of mixed. The reception is fairly mixed. mainly my critical responses dragged it down.
Yeah, but as per usual, I didn't bother to check any of that.
No, you look at you Google, you look at the first response, you go, fuck, it's been great. 9 out of 10. Yeah, some random that fucking posted a YouTube video
put
for
it
this
this
couch
way,
gave it 10 out of 10.
I got sucked in like an older woman looking for love online. Next thing you know, my bank account was drained.
Oh dear. Yeah. But I had a couple of big ticket items to wrap it up. We went to again, my son was interested in checking a couple of things out, so we watched The Goonies.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, I enjoyed it so much this time.
So
the last
good.
time I watched it, I was sort of like, I don't know, I don't think I was in the mood for it, and I was sort of, left a little bit cold, but this time I absolutely loved it.
Chunk with his hand in the blender is one of the best scenes of all time.
Now, my son he absolutely loved Chunk. He was in stitches at the part where they were like, tell us everything, and then he starts going, in the second grade, I stole some... He just starts...
And then I started making this vomiting noise. They started vomiting.
Man.
So
absolutely
good.
loved it. I also busted out I got the Tremors pack with all the Tremors movies in it up until the one that just had the preview drop today.
Back in time.
Yeah, so we watched Tremors. Absolutely
What
loved
was that? Hang on, hold up. Is there a new Tremors movie on the way?
Yeah, Shrieker Island or something like that. So
Bacon?
that'll be out shortly. No, it's Michael Gross, mate. It's still Michael Gross.
Shit,
Sounds like
gross.
Pulp Man.
And Jamie Kennedy and Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh my god! Holy shit! What's
Napoleon
happened?
Dynamite playing the worm.
Surely this is a fucking G-up. Is it April Fool's Day?
No. Essentially, so Jamie Kennedy and Michael Gross were in the last one, but from number 3 onwards, Michael Gross has been the only one that's been coming back. So, yeah, it's this one. Like, the premise is that somebody's got a graboid egg or whatever and opened up a bloody game reserve.
Oh, so it's Jurassic Park.
It's Jurassic Park and it goes to shit. So who do you call? You call Burt Gummer to sort it out. So yeah. Look, I looked at the preview and I went, "Oh, that's not much." But I'll be there. I'll watch it.
You'll be there. Oh,
No,
yeah.
no egg shen. I'm out.
No, you're in. Ready?
Yeah.
God, mate, you're in.
I'll watch it.
The other one I got to is I watched Hamilton on Disney Plus. So that was pretty cool. Good to get some access to something that otherwise I would have had to fucking part with a left nut to get a ticket in America if I ever wanted to see it. So it was good to get it for Disney Plus for my $70 a year.
And let's be honest, Jared. Based on some of your recent purchases, you're short a left nut already. So I suggest a right nut would have had to go into place.
Yeah, but this one might have been worth it. It might have been worth the testicle to see that one. And obviously the last one, Adam, which might segue into your list, is we finally got the chance to see Friday the 13th on the big screen, which was excellent. I really enjoyed it. I think I mentioned to you, there's obviously still problems with it, and it's not my favourite of the series for all that it brought us, but it was so good to see it on the big screen and to get that experience of how much the soundtrack actually plays into it and the score. Which you do, even with the surround sound and all the quality that you can get at home these days, you still miss it from the cinema experience. So for to be able to catch it on the big screen was awesome.
Definitely. I mean, that's one thing that this whole pandemic has done with regards to bringing the cinemas back. Kind of forced them to roll out some of the old classics and the old favourites. And yeah, look, I enjoyed watching Friday the 13th on the big screen. I mean, I still have to ask, what was Kevin Bacon doing?
Barred up.
Whilst old mate was drowning, Bacon was seemingly overexcited about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And on the big screen, it really sticks out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But overall, yeah, look, it's got its problems, but it's kind of got this cheapjack sort of intensity that really works for it.
Yeah.
And
you
it
get that
actually
sort of-
cleaned up on the big screen. There's those moments where you kind of briefly see Pamela in, like when she walks into that cabin and Ned follows, and then when you see Steve Christie and she shines the light in his eyes, you see her for just a split second.
You do.
And it's it adds a little creepy factor, even though, because you don't know who she is the first time you would have seen it. So I just think when it's cleaned up with the sound and everything, it kind of elevates it a little bit.
Yeah, it did. And I actually also enjoyed that kind of community vibe that obviously we didn't get to see many of these in the cinema. Like the first one that I saw in the cinema was Jason X. So to go back and see one in the cinema and, be sitting in a row with a group of guys that were fucking as over Ned's shit as we were, it was quite good to get that experience that we haven't really had before.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, segueing into the rest of mine, obviously I watched Host, loved it. Great film. I finished Creepshow and Cursed Films as well. I also chucked on a couple of episodes of Eli Roth's History of Horror.
Oh yeah, I haven't got to that
yet. 2
yet.
slasher episodes, and they were really good. And the thing about him is, obviously he's had quite a career in Hollywood, and he's got access to a lot of people. So they talk to everyone from Jordan Peele to Bruce Campbell to everybody you can find. So I thought that was really, really good. Obviously Jamie Lee Curtis is on there. Tony Todd. All the big villains talk a little bit. Like, it was really good. I also watched Tourist Trap on Shudder.
How'd that go?
Look, it's an absolute turd. But there are a couple of moments with the mannequins and stuff which are really creepy. And it could have, if it had been mined as a kind of a slasher film, because that's kind of where I think they were going, but it doesn't really work. It's not what I would call strictly a slasher. But when they actually whip out the mannequins and stuff, it actually creates a bit of that sort of creepy vibe that mannequins give off. But it's old and she's pretty shitty. I'm not going to lie. I was on my phone 45 minutes in.
Yeah, look, you could have got that for free on Tubi as well.
Yeah, well, give us a heads up. I need to sign up to Tubi.
Yeah, but you'd already paid your $70, so...
Yeah, well, I was,
What could I do?
Once again, I've been sucked in by Shudder, and now that's $70 I won't be getting back. I also continued watching Wentworth, which is actually really, really solid. The first season was really good. I'm not sure where it's going to go. Like, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. But the first season was really strong, so I'll keep up with that. And the last thing for me was, I told you, over the past few episodes, I told you I've been reading, like, books, slasher movie, or slasher-style books. Based on the title, it's really telling you what it's about. It was called Camp Slasher. So, I really think I walked right into this one. But you know what? This was the one that was most like what I was anticipating.
Yeah.
It was pretty much a slasher film in book form.
Right.
And for the most part, it worked. Worked really well.
Can I just ask the question?
Yeah.
You've been doing all this reading. Have you managed to extend your vocabulary at all? Or you just sort of... Is it dumbing you down a bit?
Look. Wait and see. Watch this space. All right?
Okay. Excellent.
And
Is that the only recommend you could give from the reading
That's
pile?
so far. The others were... Look, they kind of promised stuff and it didn't really deliver on the premise that they had. I've picked up another one that was written by the same person who wrote Final Girls, one that I read, which I was the most disappointed with that one, but he had another one in his collection that I thought...
Obviously, not disappointed enough, mate.
Well... I'm like I'm an impulse purchaser. I was close to the register, Jared. I was close to the register. I had $15.
Yeah.
What am I expected to do here?
Awesome. That's the way I operate too, mate. Get that short buzz of happiness and then fucking sink into the depths again.
Yeah, I know you. You're at the register. Look, just give me a minute while I go and lop off another testicle.
In dipping into my DVDs to find The Crow, which was sitting around somewhere in my attic or up the top, I found about 7 DVDs I hadn't opened yet.
That's a classic though. Everyone's got that.
The library's ready to go.
Yeah, I like to do that when you dig into your DVD collection. You think, this is one of my favourite films. Oh, fuck, it's still wrapped in plastic.
Must be real good.
But that was me. I'm pretty much, that's my details for this week. So, Matty, what did you have?
Me, I've spent a bit of time in the bubble for watching a bit of NBA, so I had very limited content. But the horror show that was Luka Doncic sinking the Clippers. Yeah. But I watched the Cybertronian Wars, the whole season of the prequel of Transformers.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah,
I watched the start. I started watching it.
Yeah,
what did you think?
Guess I was hoping for something like the '86. Movie, and I definitely didn't get it.
Yep.
I told you, give me a bit of Stan Bush and I would have been happy.
Yeah.
And it just completely, it's like 1984 or something. The mood of the whole thing is pretty dark.
You also can't get over, in the short section that I watched, I just couldn't get past the silly little things like, everyone's made of metal, so why is this Transformer why is he turning up to this meeting in a cloak made of cloth? This shouldn't be happening. I couldn't get past that.
Is any of this stuff connected to the film?
It's connected, yeah. It's the prequel, basically, to the '86 movie.
Yeah.
But,
so they actually made these games, too. The War for Cybertron was like a series of games, and I think they've kind of taken a lead from that because the games were pretty popular and pretty well received. So
it's like there's no real action. It's just them walking around talking and like sneaking around. There's a lot of sneaking around in it. It's not. It's so dynamic. The relationships in the '86 movie were so good.
Yeah,
you've got old Transformers and the young bucks trying to make a name for themselves, and each of them had something to offer. In this, it's just sort of like. Like I said, it's them creeping around. It's not fun. It's not entertaining. It's pretty one-dimensional. It's very derivative, and it's probably a bit dark if you're a kid watching it. So,
no darker than your favourite characters getting killed off, and it's a movie.
Yeah. Apart from having your soul crushed when Optimus died.
That's right.
But they provided hope throughout the rest of the film, and they made it uplifting with some Stan Bush later on.
They killed Optimus, and then it was, you got the touch. They got me back.
You were back on board once Stan came into play.
That was a bit of a slog. That wasn't my favourite. But I got I've watched probably half of the second season of Monkey as well.
Oh, yeah?
The Adventures of Monkey. Yeah, so I really like it. Obviously, if it's got a bit of Power Rangers about it, the fighting, but it's like, so the characters are entertaining and the dynamics there are unique, and they've taken the original and put a good spin on it. So
yeah, I thought they'd killed it off. So, and I was looking around on the net to see what had happened, and I couldn't find anything. And then it dropped
just
like
popped
a
up.
week ago.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, awesome.
I love Pigsy. That guy is just sarcastic and hilarious. He's definitely not the guy you'd want to take on a pilgrimage, but he's so funny.
It's a good one. I think it's a good one to watch with the kids. Like my kids sort of enjoyed it. It's kind of got that, villain of the week vibe.
Yeah.
But when you watch it, you're like, I'm glad they did that, because that's exactly what the old Monkey was, and that's kind of what we loved about it. So it sort of works for what it is.
But it's got that New Zealand sense of humour. It's very good.
Yeah.
And then my last one, we're sort of 7 out of 8 episodes into Betty Broderick, which is the
Dirty John.
It's what they attached onto the back of Dirty John. Yeah, so. Which is okay, it's not too good. The acting performances are pretty solid, but man, it's depressing to watch the legal system at work over there for somebody who maybe slightly mentally ill and doesn't know how to negotiate her way around what's going on. It's pretty depressing. Yeah. But yeah, that was my.
I'm not quite sure how did they manage to sort of stitch it onto Dirty John, because.
I don't know what the connection is, but it pretty much sucked us in. I was like, do you want to watch the thing that's attached to Dirty John? And that's where it ended up.
All right. Is that everything, mate?
That's it. Yeah, shallow week for me.
All right. Let's take a break. Here's the trailer for 1994's The Crow.
People once believed that when a soul can't rest, a crow can carry it back from the dead to seek justice and put the wrong things right. Friday, May 13th.
It's a good day to be a bad guy.
Brandon Lee.
I love you.
The Crow, rated R.
The Crow from 1994, directed by Alex Proyas, who did Dark City and I, Robot, produced by Jeff Most, who produced The Specialist, and Edward R. Pressman, who produced American Psycho. It was written by David J. Show, who wrote Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and John Shirley, who, Jared, you'd be happy to know, wrote 3 episodes of the RoboCop TV series.
Yeah, gem.
And it was based on the comic book series by James O'Barr. It stars Brandon Lee as Eric Draven, Rochelle Davis as Sarah, Ernie Hudson as Albrecht, and Michael Wincott as Top Dollar. The budget was $23 million, and it made $50.7 million worldwide at the box office. This is some darkish trivia, but although he was not at fault for the death of Brandon Lee, Michael Massey stopped acting for a year because he was so traumatised by the incident, and up until his death in 2016, he had never watched the film.
It's fair enough.
So, yeah, fair enough, I think. All right, Maddie, your thoughts on The Crow?
It's like a very, very simple revenge plot, but it's done with style and, I don't know, a lot of nostalgia in there. I have very few negatives for me. It's got a little bit of humour sprinkled in there. Ernie Hudson's a beautiful touch in there, and I haven't really got anything bad to say about it. So it was a very solid 4 out of 5 for me.
4 out of 5. Jared,
Yeah.
where do you go on The Crow?
So before we let you blow your stack, I was at a 4 out of 5 as well. I think Maddie nailed it. The plot is fairly straightforward, but it is so stylish, and I think it does a really good job of bringing some of those comic book elements to the screen. The character is just really good to look at stylistically, and I think Brandon Lee actually, obviously with the tragedy around it, it's hard to kind of separate, but in the bits that you see, he's just kind of so magnetic. I don't know whether it's you just kind of wish you could have seen more, or there's some feelings like that attached to it, but you watch him and you just think, yeah, he just does a really good job in the role. As Maddie said, Ernie Hudson, totally underrated. He's fantastic. And
Dead ringer for Michael Jordan.
well, I was going to say Ernie Hudson, a.k.a. Michael Jordan. We all know he played Michael Jordan in a Little Seen movie. I mean, I could probably still get away with that because no one watched the movie, but anyway. Style overcomes a few of the issues with the story. I've got a couple of minor issues with the story, but the style and the actors that are involved and a bit of the action elements sort of overcome that. So, yeah, 4 out of 5 for me too.
4 out of 5, so it's very highly regarded at this stage. I've been known to go over the top on occasion. Correct?
See the host.
Yeah, I've already been over the top on this podcast alone. I mean, look, I'm not at Matty K's level of giving Speed 2.5. That's going over the top.
That's the gold standard for going over the top.
Yeah, that's the standard that nobody's willing to top, I suggest.
I gave UB40 1.5, and I gave Speed 2 1.
I always enjoyed this film, and I've seen it many, many times. I hadn't watched it in a little while, but I always came back to it and always thought it was really good. Watching it this time, though, I was just blown away by it. I just think it's an absolutely fantastic film. It's kind of a great mixture of, like, revenge, and yet there's this kind of love story in there that's kind of sweet.
Here we go, the lid's coming off.
Even in amongst all this shit that they kind of, some of the characters are as nasty and as grungy as it can get. But yet they somehow weave all that in. The film's really well paced. It looks great. Brandon Lee is excellent. And as you pointed out, it's difficult to separate the performance from the tragedy that occurred. But I think looking closely at it, I mean, the performance is excellent. And overall, I'm going with 4.5. This was really, really up there. It wavers near the end. I've got very little negatives, but it doesn't quite go all the way through, you know?
Yeah.
The ending is probably its weakest point. And still there are some great parts of that, and we'll get to it. But to open up the likes, I think Alex Proyas deserves a lot of credit here, and the scriptwriters, they kind of deftly balance supernatural, revenge, comic book, love story, all these elements, but they kind of really deftly do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I never at any point looked at my watch thinking, Christ, when's this going to end?
No, not at all.
Yeah, like you watching The Host. I never got there.
You weren't wishing it was 55 minutes long.
It's 55 minutes long, and you're fucking looking at your watch.
I was wishing Host was 55 seconds long after about 5 minutes. But no, you're right. They did it. They did do a really good job of sort of balancing those aspects. And there's also, I mean, there's the Brandon Lee tragedy, which they managed to work around as well. But obviously, I'm a comic book fan, but The Crow's one that I've never read. But I only sort of just realised that James O'Barr had a hefty tragedy too, which it came out of, that his fiancée was actually killed by a drunk driver. Might not have been his fiancée, but his girlfriend or fiancée was killed by a drunk driver. So there's these really...
And that's why he wrote it.
Yeah. There's these
wanted it to be cathartic, and it sent him into some darkness, I think.
Yeah. It was sort of like there's all these heavy elements, and yeah, I think it all comes out really well, considering the weight that is kind of on the film, especially the fact that they had it happen during the shooting and had to make this decision of whether we finish it or not, and still managed to pull it off. Like, it's a real credit to, as you said, Adam, like Alex Proyas and all the people involved to it, that it actually ended off at the level that it did.
And you don't even notice it that they've got the body doubles in the places. I think.
No.
There's, I think 4 scenes, but
there's a couple when you know it. It's sort of you can pick it, but it's still done pretty well. Even when you know, you're like they worked around that pretty well. There's only one or two shots where you're like, that sticks out that he wasn't actually there, but the rest of it is pretty solid.
And look, 94, they didn't really have CGI at a good level. I mean, today it would be quite easy, and we've seen it done many times with de-aged actors, and
they've still fucked it up. I mean,
they have, but Paul Walker, I think they did a bit of that with him, didn't they?
Well, Paul Walker's was pretty solid, but look at fucking Superman's mustache. We couldn't rub out Superman's mustache, but they managed to.
Mate,
in '94,
I'm still baffled by that. Side note, the bloke should have been rocking a mustache.
Yeah,
would have been
Superman with
great.
a bow.
Yeah. I mean, Superman can grow facial hair, can't he?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's it raises the question: how does Superman shave? Does he have a kryptonite razor or something like that?
Use his nails.
These are broader questions. We don't need to go into.
This probably needs a 1 to 2 episode discussion. We haven't got time for that shit here.
Yeah, like for the time period, it's awesome what they did.
Yeah, and
it still stacks up.
Yeah.
The visual palette delivered by Alex Proyas is great. Like,
that comic book
there are
look.
A number of shots that are so striking.
Yeah.
You know, something as simple as the bit where he dives off the roof when he goes to kill Tintin, and it shows him kind of falling head first and then landing in the trash. I mean, that's a fantastic shot. There's the whole thing of him coming up out of the grave.
Even just the beginning, the fires in the city, it just, I got straight away, I went into Sin City. It just looked like a comic. It was great.
Yeah. That's one of the things that stood out to me is, like, So from what I know, The Crow was black and white, and I was looking at parts of the movie and thinking, if you turned this black and white, it would look just like some of the pages, like the contrast they had between the lights and the darks. It just looked awesome, and some of the transitions from like the city to the way they did some of the swooping kind of, not just when it was actually the Crow, but when you would see like a shot of the building, and then they would fucking sweep out and see the whole city and stuff. It looked awesome, and it did really. I think it's one that kind of somewhat gets forgotten for how well it translated the comic book to the screen.
Yeah. That shot, the shot where he's just put all the makeup on and the lightning goes off and you see him for the first time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's straight out
the
of
Crow's perched on his shoulder.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a really great way to sort of introduce Eric Draven as the Avenging Angel type of thing. It just looked great.
Yeah, loved it.
You know what? This may sound amusing, but it's almost like Alex Proyas he's kind of an offshoot of someone like Russell Mulcahy. Like Russell Mulcahy had some of that type of style in things like Highlander and even Razorback, you know. And it's almost like, you know, that's kind of what Proyas sort of does here.
Yeah. Look,
it looks fantastic.
I was going to giggle and call you an idiot, but I had the same thought myself. So I think, what does that make me? I better back you up on this one.
I mean,
no, you're 100% right. Like it's exactly. I looked at it and I thought exactly the same thing. Like that was the first name I thought of. Was the style is so slick and you know, both of them being from Australia also kind of brings that comparison up as well. Fair comparison, absolutely.
And I got vibes of Highlander. Not in the storytelling or anything like that, but the style, the swooping camera work and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I got little vibes of that.
They both came from that music video background, which you can see in parts, but it totally worked.
Mm.
Yeah. Just quietly, my personal favourite shot, the most memorable shot for me is the flaming crow after he kills T-Bird.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It looks fantastic. And he's just kind of standing next to it. It just looks really cool.
Mm.
Acting across the board. I mean, I looked at a few reviews and, you know, no one really talks greatly about the acting, but I actually think the actors are very, very good in this. Apart from one. I'll get to that. But there's one that's not up to it.
That's interesting.
But
I'm looking forward to hearing who that is. I think I might have one contender.
Yes.
But
I hope it's not Skank. He might be the best actor of all time.
Well, he's my contender actually. But look, Ernie Jordan Hudson is awesome. He's so good. I mean, I was one of these weird kids whose favourite Ghostbuster was Winston, so I'm always happy to see Ernie Hudson, but he's so good in this role.
Yeah,
he's got such a nice rapport with the girl.
Yeah.
And then with Draven.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's the only cop in it with a bit of heart. And yeah, definitely that hot dog scene, you just get him like he's sort of taken over a little bit from Eric's role as the sort of caretaker of the girl. And he takes that responsibility a little bit seriously.
I also love he's got one of the really solid moments in the movie where the detective, I mean, bringing up another one of my likes, I really like the angle between him and the detective, how Ernie Hudson had been seemingly, this is what I got from it, is that he was a detective and had been kind of busted down back to, you know, working the street for whatever reason. But when the detective starts, you know, working him trying to get the info, and, you know, he hits him with good speech. I didn't want to interrupt you, but, you know, sounded good. You got to write that shit down. Like, that was such a good moment. And it also made it so much easier to buy his reaction to Eric Draven, you know, knowing that it's him, figuring it out, and just sort of going along with it but keeping it to himself. It made it so much easier to buy just because they had this other character who they'd already sort of developed in opposition to him.
Yeah.
And, you know, he wanted to prove that he was, you know, not wanted to prove that he was smarter, but he didn't want to help this guy who was an arsehole to him. Like, so it was pretty straightforward, but it worked for him sort of keeping it to himself.
Definitely. And I think Hudson's kind of the MVP in a sense that he is not the main protagonist, but his involvement, I think, elevates a lot of the other performances. But coming back to Brandon Lee, I just think that tinge of sadness is we missed out on someone who I think had a lot of talent and could have gone a long way. And The Crow showcased a lot more of him than just, karate and action style actor. I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot he's got to work with. He's got to bring a bit of pathos to the role. He's got to bring a love towards Shelley and all that stuff, and he does it really well.
He's got a Brian Blessed-esque laugh. The head goes back. I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really sad to watch now. It's kind of haunting because, we know the backstory of the film, so seeing him kind of resurrected on the screen and knowing it was kind of the last time he was going to do it, so when he crawled back to the grave, that was it. It's fucking haunting to watch, and
it is.
It's so sad because it would have been the making of him. Like, I truly believe that, it's a bit like Heath Ledger with the Joker. We always knew Heath Ledger was a great actor, but the Joker would have pushed him over the top because it was such a good performance. Brandon Lee, this was going to be the break, right? This was going to be the one that made him something other than Bruce Lee's son. And I firmly believe that would have happened whether he died or not.
Yeah.
Because I think he did such a good job. But, super sad.
Yeah, I read a couple of reviews that were sort of saying, had he have not died, this would have just been another revenge flick. But I disagree. I think he would have become a star, and hopefully a star looking for parts that were more than just your action fare. He'd done a bit of that with Rapid Fire and Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Yeah, look,
but he proved here that acting, he could give you a performance that was worthy, and I think he does a great job.
People keep coming back to this, so you can't doubt it.
I think he was always going to stick in the action genre. Like, that was what he could do, and for even this movie, like, as I say, I think it would have been the making of him, but I think it would have elevated him in the action genre, but it would have given him a lot of opportunities. I think it would have given him opportunities to take a shot at some of the roles that the Slys and the Arnies couldn't do for whatever reasons. If there was a big action role, I think Brandon Lee would have been a name on the list.
Yeah, sure.
But I disagree. I think if you look at the film overall, you could possibly make that argument that the film might not have developed the reputation that it did if not for what happened. But I think looking at him and his performance, I think that still stands out as pretty solid. And I think it would have been really good for his career.
I thought he showed some good moments of even comedy in there, though.
Yeah.
When he's, like, struggling, he's like, oh, shit. Like, he can deliver a line.
Yeah. He could deliver the line. And the one that I really liked, although the scene was a bit chaotic and I didn't love it, but the scene where he takes everyone out in that kind of boardroom meeting of the goons and the villains, like the way that he played it though, like he's beating heads and he's laughing and fucking that was the scene where I was looking at it going, no, this guy was good for this sort of stuff. He was gonna do the job for these roles.
Yeah, definitely. I actually really like Michael Wincott. This is right in his wheelhouse, and he's just got one of those voices for starters that is fantastic for a villain.
Yeah.
But then throw in Tony Todd as the side man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loved it. Like, I was just thinking these villains are kind of... Look, they weren't super interesting in the sense that their sort of nefarious plan was a bit kind of like we set fire to a bit of shit.
They were pretty one note, those two, but...
Yeah.
I actually... Wincott... He's just such a seedy looking human being. You just look at him and think, this guy's trouble.
Yeah.
But he delivers a couple of things. My personal favourite is, let's have a minute's silence for our old mate Tintin. Then he just snorts a line of coke.
Yeah.
Like, yep, that's
He's
brilliant.
pretty heartless, isn't he? He's that weird combination of, like, he's got that Eastern influence with understands the mystical, I've got a sword on me, but then he just sounds like he's from Texas as well, and it's just like, my daddy told me. Like, it's got like He shows like a little bit of both parts, make him an interesting character.
I think the interesting part about
that voice has just been. It's like he's just been like his neck's been run over by a semi-trailer or something. He just there's a lot of gravel to it.
Yeah, he's a husky.
But
Colonel
guys
Sanders.
like him, I think the reason why it works is that it's a lower tier kind of villain, but he's an actor with a little bit like brings something to it. In a sense of his voice and his look and everything like that, and he's a quality actor, so he's going to give you a decent performance, and I think that's what kind of elevates it a little bit.
Loves a monologue.
Yeah. Loves it
In any situation, he was good.
And Tony Todd, he's just one of those guys, you see him, like I was just super happy to see him. I forgot he was even in there.
Yeah, yep, same here. Underappreciated.
I'm a massive fan of Tony Todd, and just seeing him, I was like, oh shit.
Didn't recognise him. Jesus, Matty, let's go.
He didn't have a whole stack of bees on him.
I mean, the Candyman shows up and you don't even know it's him. Like, fuck.
Was it the goatee that put you off?
The mark of a good actor. What can I say?
Yeah, he truly inhabits the role.
Henchman 1, he nailed it.
Yeah. Adam, I might have another contender on your list here, so we might have differ on opinions if this is the bloke you're talking about, but I'm a big David Patrick Kelly fan in terms of villain
No,
roles.
definitely not him. Shit, no.
I mean, he's a guy...
He's great.
I think he... And this could be totally biased because I do love the Warriors and he was Luther, banging the bottles and Warriors, all that sort of business, But I think he is so good in a comic book movie especially. When you look at the Warriors, it's essentially a comic book movie as well. But him in a role like this is so perfect. He's such a good actor.
Yeah.
And he's got that, he's just got this eccentric vibe that makes him, even though he's the little guy, he's just got this look and this way of delivering the lines where you're like, he's off. And you could see him leading a troop of troubled men the way that he does in
he's
these
sort
movies.
of a little level above them.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more, got a little bit more cognition going on.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
he's seedy and slimy.
Yeah, and he always delivers these lines where he kind of belittles the other people in the group, and even though it's like same with the Warriors when he's Luther, he's got this rampant case of little man syndrome, but like you said, he's got the brains to back it up, and he's got this short fuse that you can see he could just explode at any minute, and you don't want to be on the end of that. But I'm a big fan of him, and I think he's another guy that is one of those character actors, one of those kind of that guy.
Yeah.
People that pops up in some of your movies, but fuck, he's a good actor.
Yeah, he delivers well. And look, it can be difficult to play a role as despicable as some of these guys are, but you get the right guys there, and he's one of them. I mean, just that whole sequence in the car where he's going, "Oh, I know you. But you shouldn't be here, we put you out the window, there ain't no coming back, and he starts getting all upset, and then he gives that line of, I think I don't know who it's from, but it's a line there, he says something just before Eric Draven sort of drops the grenade in his lap and lets him go, and all of it works really well, and a lot of it's down to the performance and the way he kind of delivers those lines, and I just think, he's definitely not on the negatives list for me.
Oh, that's good. I'm kind of intrigued at who you're going to run at here, though. Like who's who you bringing out the
the
big
character's
ones for?
barely in it, but
yeah.
I just found them really flat.
Actually, I think
the only one who's flat.
I do have one more contender. Yeah. So I'm interested to see who you're going to pick there. I've got a couple of specific scenes that were always the scenes that I remembered when. You wouldn't watch it for a while, but you always remember the particular scenes. The bit where he squeezes the drugs out of the mother's arm and basically tells her you're doing a shit job and you got to lift your game. I absolutely loved that for some reason. And the other one was...
It's unexpected. It was like a superpower that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And even though he's on his own mission, he sort of wants the best for the people around him.
That's right. He's still looking out for the girl. And the other one was the window where Tony Todd walks in and he gives it the shh and then just ducks out the window. There's something about that one that always stuck with me as well. They were a couple of my favourite little sequences in there.
I'm a big fan of the Gideon's pawn shop
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one that I always remember, where he goes through the rings and he's going, no, 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 and then he just touches it and goes,
You just
and he
wait.
sees
You're just waiting
parts
for
of
that
it.
pawn shop guy to shut his mouth, and he can't do it. He can't
Yeah.
help himself.
Oh, I mean, you walked in and you mentioned him, and I was like, again, good performance, because he's just such a shit bloke. You like, look at him and you're like, what a shit bloke.
He played it perfectly.
Yeah.
I love that. I just love that line of, is that gasoline I smell? And he just turns around and goes, boom, blows the whole place up. Just fantastic. I think that entire sequence is just great, and it really showcases a little bit of playfulness, where he's swinging the guy's swinging the bat around and he's suddenly hanging from above him and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But then you also get that sense of his anger and all that kind of stuff. He starts throwing the rings at him and says, each one of these is a life that you helped destroy.
Yeah.
And then the aftermath of that, where he's out the front and Albrecht comes along and he said, what's the line he says? They're all dead, they just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, this sort of stuff is, it's golden sort of lines, I remember all that stuff. They're the things that I always remember in between viewings of it,
He gets the short end of the stick. It's not like he was involved in the rape, but or the murder of his, but he cops it.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Just for being a shit bloke on the way through.
Yeah, I came across you and you're a shit human, so you're going to cop it as well.
It's a little bit of side justice on the way to redemption.
That's right.
There's one thing that I will say, and I read some more about this. I think they were either supposed to shoot more scenes or had shot more scenes with Eric and Shelley together. But I think it was that they were supposed to shoot more, but after his death they couldn't.
Yeah.
But I actually think the montage stuff that they work with, it comes off really well. It just gives enough to know that they were in love. You can kind of see it.
Yeah.
But they don't hammer it home with long sequences where we, with them.
So glad it was short. I could cop the minute of that, but if it went any longer than that, that would have been a very strong dislike for
I
me.
think when you see it, you kind of look at it and you're like, too much of this might have been a little too kind of
they're like
sickly,
hanging
sweet.
out in a field and I'm cooking food for you.
Yeah.
But they're like
It was kind of
they're living in a hellhole.
cliche.
They're living in a place where every year you're threatened to have your whole place burnt down.
Yeah, that's right. Let's hope our apartment doesn't get set on fire tonight.
Yeah. But But
I
agree.
think truncating it and making it short little grabs just gave us enough, and I think the performances and the between the two of them, they looked like they were a couple that was in love with each other. You had the young girl Sarah with them, and you only see that briefly, but it kind of works. It just works to give us a sense of Eric before this.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really meet him before this.
Yeah, I
The
think
first time we meet him, he comes up out of the grave.
well, that's right. It just keeps going at that. I'd actually, again, I started it up, and you just kind of, he just, as you said, he comes out of the grave, and I was kind of thinking, have I got an alternate cut? Because I'd forgotten that it just came straight into it, and that we got all that stuff in flashbacks very, very briefly. So, yeah, I agree. I think that worked, that it just went straight into it, and it didn't sort of slow down that he picked it up on the way along. Sort of worked for what they were going for.
Yeah. If you lost that, the dark stuff, the dark shots at the beginning of the movie for their relationship, it would have been a big loss to the movie.
Yeah. So in a way, they worked around it, and it kind of, they found, I think it sort of helped streamline the film somewhat, that you didn't have all that. So, yeah, that worked. I agree. If they'd have had more of that, I don't know how successful that would have been. Because it was a dark, dark film. Like, you had to balance the light and the dark. And so what they had was, it's 95% darkness, but there's this 5% where we're seeing a relationship of love and caring and all that sort of stuff in amongst this cesspool. And that was how it needed to be, though, because that was kind of the city they were in. So I think it worked on those terms.
Yeah. I also I actually really liked the role of the Crow. I thought it was a really kind of simple way of, almost like the guide, just sort of being with him along the way, but sort of directing him where to go and that sort of thing. And Adam, obviously, we checked out that episode of the Cursed Films, which delved into Michael Berryman and the Skull Cowboy, and I was trying to imagine how that would work. And I don't know what they wrote with that, but it seemed like the Crow sort of became a little bit of what the Skull Cowboy was going to be, like turning up at particular points and filling in information and things like that. And I find it difficult to imagine, but I find it hard to see that it could have been better than what they ended up with.
Yeah. I think it'd be really interesting to have seen what, let's say, alternate universe Brandon Lee doesn't die.
Yeah.
And there's a different version of this film which would have perhaps included the Skull Cowboy, more of Shelley and Eric together. How would that look? Would it it would be interesting to see what that would be.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate we can't get that. And it's obviously tragic of the death of Brandon Lee, but I think in the end, out of necessity, the film kind of finds nice ways to fill those gaps.
Yeah, definitely.
And does it well. I really like the it's short, but it's a really nice sequence where Eric and Albrecht are in his apartment, and he explains the situation on the night that it occurred, and then the whole little sort of thing where Eric tells him nothing is trivial.
Yeah.
I really liked it, and I thought, again, Ernie Hudson just comes to the fore there.
Yeah.
He delivers fantastically in that scene. I'm a massive fan of the get-together that the goons are having. When the camera kind of pans across the table from above. I mean, there's coke and guns and booze and everything you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry about the hors d'oeuvres. Don't serve up a plate of bloody spring rolls and risotto balls or anything. Just lay out the plate of coke and a bottle of Jack and you're off. It's that type of party where I'm turning up in a Nicolas Cage Snake Eyes style suit, fucking wandering in.
You fit right in.
And immediately planting my face into a pile of cocaine.
It's pretty funny that they went with we've got the goth hero, so we've got to have the goth table of villains. It's pretty funny.
In a lot of other movies, I would have laughed and just gone, this is so ludicrous.
Yeah. Well, it brings up, it's always, you look at a city like this and you think to yourself, who the fuck's laundering all these leather pants for everyone?
He just finds them in the trash. Yeah. As he walks past.
Yeah, that's right. Brandon Lee got his whole costume. Obviously, someone said, I can't be fucked paying all the money to continue laundering the leather pants, and my boots are a little bit dirty, so that in they go into the trash.
Yeah.
So.
That's probably
these guys forget money.
Because it leaves
money
a really
laundering.
bad
They're into
smell when
leather
they burn
laundering.
your house with all the leather in it.
Yeah,
so they're chucking it in the trash to prevent that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I would have laughed in any other film, but it's kind of like this is classic comic book.
Yeah, it fits the vision, right? It fits the gothic.
You would have seen
style.
this in a comic book, in this style of comic book, many times, and it's the same as watching something like Sin City.
Well, that's right.
The way some of those over-the-top moments that are in Sin City is exactly what you expect because of the way they've created that world.
Yeah, it develops that vision and that style. And if they do it well, then you run with it and you don't question these things. You just kind of go with it.
I got a good laugh, though. I mean, quite frankly, I'd have been there. Bells on.
The best dressed scumbags in the fucking biggest cesspit in the universe. Maya
fittingly having her eyes plucked out by the Crow.
Yeah, that was great.
That was a fitting way to put her out of it because of the whole situation with taking the eyeball out of the girl and all that kind of stuff. And in the early stage of the film, so I was happy that sort of came back around.
And they played it pretty well because the Crow for the rest of the film had just been that kind of guide. So when she had a hold of it, you were thinking, how's he going to get out of it? You know?
Yeah.
So when the Crow actually was the one, like they kind of reversed the roles and the Crow becomes the one doing the attacking, it was kind of neat.
Yeah. And my last like was... Oh, no, I got one more after that, but I actually didn't mind the sword fight on top of the cathedral.
Yep.
But I really liked the whole, I've got something to give you.
Yeah.
30 hours of pain all at once.
It was such a good
I thought that
turn.
shit was great.
It was such a good turn because he's got a sword through him. He's completely helpless at that point. He's just copped a monologue, another one. And he's like, thanks for getting close enough to me so that I can give you all my pain.
Yeah.
And it's that one last defence that you don't expect. And, it was played really well.
Yeah, I've had a gut full of your long speeches.
That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah, just
If you
shut
mention
the
your
fuck
daddy
up.
one more time.
Yeah,
And the good thing about it is they kind of lead you up to this a little bit because you keep having him touching people or touching items and seeing things, so it's kind of there throughout, but to deliver it at the end the way he does to pretty much kill him is a great way to finish it. And I love the fact that he lands on that kind of, I don't know, some sort of minotaur head or something, and the blood's just gushing out of its mouth. And it's, again, a really striking shot and a striking way to finish. There's all the rain and everything. It's just,
It feels a little bit like the Joker's death in Batman. The fall and the death at the end there. A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it reeks of Mulcahy. It smells of Mulcahy, but
it looks
still
good with the rain as well. The darkness.
It looks fantastic. It's a really, really great shot and a great way to kind of like finish the villain. Put him down and put him down really hard. Like it was a nasty way to go.
Yeah.
Look, mate, when it turns out like this, that's the smell of Mulcahy is something that, it's a sweet smell. It's like when you walk past Subway and smell the bread cooking or something. It's alluring.
Yeah. I mean, watching Highlander 2 is akin to standing in an elevator and someone drops their car.
Yeah. And when you watch Highlander 2, that's when the stench of Mulcahy becomes overpowering and overwhelming.
A pungent and overpowering stink. My last like is just the way it ends with Shelley kind of walking out in the graveyard and she's kind of backlit with light and stuff like that and everything else is dark around and she comes up and kisses him and all that. It was just, to me...
You
and
old,
I don't,
you
again,
old romantic, you.
Yeah, no wonder you get.
I
your
don't
bank
like to
account
go over the
emptied
top, but it was beautiful.
No wonder you get your bank account emptied by the first, anyone on the internet that's offering it.
You told me you loved me. Where are you from?
I'm picturing you wiping a tear away.
Yes.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Look, I'm not going over the top. It was beautiful. It was.
Yeah, it was it was expected.
It was a really, really nice touch.
Nice little touch to finish, yeah.
Because everything else had been so dark, from their deaths to, the kind of scumbags who were inhabiting this place, to the world's greatest party. It was all sort of negative and nasty. And you had to have that because that was the aesthetic of the film.
Lengthy night though.
But
did he go? He obviously didn't get to the daytime. Like it felt like it was 30 days of night or something because he had time to off a few people, but he still had time to perch up on the rooftop and shred the guitar for a little bit.
That's right. I think it's over 2 nights. It's 2 nights, one jam session.
It's quick.
right.
Back to the underworld.
It's quick. That was it for me.
I got a couple more that I liked. I liked the take one more step and you're dead. And then he backs it up with, I'm dead and I'll take one more step. I thought that
that was excellent.
I love that line.
Yeah.
And when that's all, that Tintin fight, I thought that was a really good entry into him figuring out what he could do and what his limits were. And it showed that he was a bit reckless, but then he's just getting like tossed around into bins and things, and then starts sort of figuring himself out, getting his balance.
Yeah. It kind of embodied that feeling that you would have when you were, if you confronted someone who'd done something like this to you, where you would be a bit reckless, but he still had that kind of that look in his eye and that kind of intense smile on his face and shit like that. Like and
he's like a bit disoriented. I thought that was good for his character arc in terms of later on he starts getting his confidence, his balance. He's pretty much doing parkour all over the place, and I thought that was good development. I enjoyed that fight as well, the catching of the knife, and I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, that was good actually.
Agreed.
That was it for me.
Anything else?
The music was pretty good. I didn't mind it. Touch of opera in there. The alternate goth stuff would fit in pretty nicely with everything else that was going on.
Yeah. The only one that I was a little bit put off by was when you actually kind of get that performance of the blokes that are in the club. I think it's before the party, and I thought this was club hell in the 90s, Adam, before the fucking techno kind of hit.
Before Michael Bay got there and nuded it all up.
Yeah, once club hell pivoted and started bringing some electronic techno and EDM and all that stuff. Yeah, move a couple of stripper poles in there too.
The one that works the best for me is when he's putting on his face. Yeah. And I think it's The Cure.
Yeah.
And it really works. Like, it really kind of fits the scene, of him. He punches the mirror so everything's all shattered and you can barely see his face, and then he's putting, the makeup on and stuff. It works, and it does end with that fantastic shot that you said before, Matty, of him walking towards and standing at the window type of thing with the crow on his shoulder, and then the lightning goes off and you see him in his full garb, and it really kind of fits everything. And I think the soundtrack is actually pretty good, if I remember rightly.
It's got some big names on it.
Yeah. It's on Spotify, so no doubt I'll be looking it up after this.
Yeah.
The other one for me is, I didn't mention it in full, is The Death of T-Bird. I think that is the best one of the lot. And I love the way he drops the grenade into his lap, lets the handbrake off, and then you just see it from the outside and he's kind of waving at him. It's just a really kind of cold type of shot,
It sort of comes out of nowhere. You're expecting like a fist fight, and it turns into this elaborate car explosion off the dock.
But I also love when he gets in the car and he puts the gun to his head and he goes, "Who are you?" "I'm your passenger. Drive." And he just forces him to drive as fast as he can through the city. It's kind of got a tenseness to it that I liked.
Yeah. And that's when the police has commented, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, the guy that drops the coffee on him, and isn't it? If I'm not mistaken, that's the same guy where the fucking body lands on the car and he jumps down and says, "What the hell?" Yeah, that was good. I like the fact that they.
And you got poor old Skank driving along in that little tiny car.
That was actually that gave me a few laughs. Like, I wasn't a big fan of Skank's performance, but him driving that little shit box trying to keep up with him was piss funny.
I loved Skank. I thought he was so funny. I feel like a little worm on a hook. He's such a hillbilly. He cracked me up.
I did have to laugh when he's like, I can't remember what he says, but he's like, "I'm not Skank. That's Skank over there. He's dead." He's trying his best. Yeah.
Trying his best to weasel his way out of his death.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. I would have just said, "Look, I was only here for the party. What the fuck's going on? I only turned up for the cocaine. I was told to chip away at it."
Yeah, we're just going to chip away at it for the next 3 to 4 days.
This was meant to be an all-nighter. I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, you're the fashionably late one that walks in and finds the
As I said,
body.
mate, I come in the Snake Eyes suit going, "Woo!"
Oh, shit.
Any other likes?
No, that was me covered.
Yeah, that's me covered.
Dislikes. There's a couple of visual effects scenes that are a little bit ropey. Again, it's probably the period and the time. There's one in particular where he jumps from a rooftop after he's killed everybody at the party and killed all Top Dollar's guys. He leaps off the rooftop, and you can guarantee it's like a mat. Like, you can see the building behind him isn't real.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about, where he kind of leaps off and he's got the arms.
He falls quite away too, and it just kind of looks a bit stupid.
Yeah, that was the only one, really the only one where I was like, yeah, that shouldn't have been in there. But a couple of times the effects are clear. So
I mean, they're not super bad.
No,
but they're not. They kind of take you away from it just briefly.
Yep.
Now, my weak link in the acting department.
It's the mum, isn't it?
No, it's
shit.
Micah.
Okay.
It's Top Dollar's girlfriend. She is so flat. There is one bit where she says something to him early on. I think it's when they're talking mumbo jumbo about, fucking voodoo and all this kind of weird stuff. But she delivers a line, and it is just fucking monotone. Not an ounce of emotion in it. Not an ounce of anything in it.
Yeah,
she was nothing. She was nothing character.
You got to remember,
where did we get
Adam,
this person from?
You got to remember, Adam. You're allowed to talk mumbo jumbo when you're on night one of the big 3-night fucking bender in the lead up to
it. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Fucking night one of the bender is mumbo jumbo night. That's what it's known as. Yeah, you just talk out of your ass.
Yeah, that's how we get together. We test the product and we just talk shit. No one knows what we're talking about for 24 hours, and then we hold the big party.
What was the whole thing with them being brother and sister as well? That was confusing.
Yeah,
was that the case?
I don't know. I'm a little bit confused about that myself. Again, large part, cocaine's a hell of a drug. We don't know what they're talking about here.
Yeah. So, what do you say, Jared? Night one is test the product, get off your face.
Yeah, look, I'm saying night one was he met her downstairs 20 minutes ago. He said, sample? Like to test the product with me. Next thing you know, they're talking about being brother and sister, and no one knows no one knows what they're talking about.
Hang on. Are you saying he met her downstairs, half an hour ago, came upstairs, started night one, seen missing, return, they're laying on a bed together, she's plucking out eyeballs, and he's talking about fucking God only knows what.
Well, look, it was a strong batch that we got. Yeah. Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Top Dollar. I've got some product here which I would offer you if you would like to sample. I'm not going to charge you. Oh, let's pluck out some eyeballs. That sounds like a great idea. Do
you think at any point Dollar sobered up for 5 minutes to realise, is she calling me her fucking brother? What's going on here?
Yeah, possibly, but again, that was when we'd cut away to the Crow doing something, and Tony Todd came in and said, we got another batch in, you want to test this one? Hey,
yeah, okay, I'll give it a go.
How's things going?
And night two, you organise a party, talk really quickly the whole time. You organise a party for no apparent reason. Invite every scumbag you can find.
I guarantee you, Top Dollar didn't know any of those blokes, but he was feeling it. He just got out there and he started talking, and they were like, "This bloke knows what he's talking about." There was someone.
He's
at the
like cokehead Jim Jones.
Yeah, there was someone at the end of the table going,
mumbling and people are coming up.
I'm telling you, there's someone at the end of the table going, who is this bloke? And someone else next to him going, look, he's the owner of the club and this shit is free. He just fucking dragged us in here, laid the guns on the table, there's a pile of coke, just fucking cheer along and say, yeah, let's torch the city.
Yeah. I'm looking at the bloke next to me going, I don't know, the big black guy over there just told me there was free snacks. So I came up.
I'm looking at the person next to me going, I just saw all these people in leather pants coming in here, and I thought, where can I get a pair of those? So, I thought I might be
Check the dumpster outside.
Yeah, I picked them up on the way. I traded my beige chinos for a pair of black leather strides on the way.
I had to throw in the sweater that I had tied around my neck as extra collateral.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's how it seems to me like that's how the party came together.
I'll take your word for it. You know how you talked about how he's shredding on the axe up on top of the building?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me was the worst scene of the movie.
Why?
It just cuts upstairs and here he is going, yeah!
He's wailing.
At dusk, he then proceeds to bash the shit out of him.
What else is an undead poet, artist, musician meant to do with his Friday night in between his Vengeance Fest?
Yeah, well, when
do something else.
When you get turned away from the party of the year at Top Dollars Club, you got to go and, I'd like to.
You got to make your own fun.
Climb up on the roof of the tallest building and play some 12-bar blues or something that you're not snorting a pie with everyone else.
Exactly. I mean, it looked like something out of a bad 90s video clip because it actually had that, because they had the dusk, the kind of the red sky.
Yeah.
It just, all of it didn't look good. And it kind of looked a bit out of place. It felt a bit out of place. Although he was a musician, it just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't seem to fit for me.
Yeah,
I mean, fuck, he goes bloody loco on he destroys the guitar.
Yeah, I kind of liked it though because it was kind of, we had the short scenes of that's what he did when he's him and his girl were in the apartment. He'd be sitting on the floor playing the guitar, and I kind of liked it for that measure. It was that kind of connection with what he had beforehand, but everything else was gone. Like, instead of in his apartment with the girl he loved, he's looking over the biggest fucking hole in the country. Like, he's looking over this city that's just reminding him of everything that's not there anymore. Like, I didn't mind it so much.
I mean, there was some symbolism there, but there was all sort of obviously going back to who he was, but it just felt a little out of place for me. The last one for me was, for a bunch of cokeheads, these blokes put the pieces together about how the crow is the reason why he's strong. They just kind of put it together in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, Top Dollar would be in no shape to come up with that shit.
No, fuck that. I mean, he's not even able to. He's seeing multiple crows. He's looking at Eric Raven and he's like, there's 3 of them at this point, I think.
This was my last point tying into it. Is Top Dollar the worst name for the head of a henchman?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
That's sounds like a $2 shop.
It does. It sounds like you get down to the mall at Hot Dollar. It's not too far away from that, is it?
I need to buy some $8 sunglasses.
Yeah. I'm rocking up to that club going, look, I heard you had I heard I could get some a birthday card and some wrapping for 50 cents each here.
Blow up some helium balloons for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm there for. I agree.
Well, I heard Top Dollar was selling, half price leather pants, so I've come along to check it out.
Yeah.
And see, Jared, this is how you get roped into his party.
Well, that's right.
You assume that you're going to buy cheap knickknacks and end up upstairs snorting cocaine with all these guys.
Yeah, turned up for a cheap birthday card, ended up face down in a pile of coke. So, it's,
And being watched by all sorts of scumbags who at any minute might shoot you.
Yeah. I turned up at the party with powder all over my face saying, fuck, sorry, I missed it, and I don't have a card. The only one that I really took note of, there was a couple of minor things, but the only one that I really took note of is that Top Dollar doesn't actually do a hell of a lot. He's just there. I mean, he's mumbo jumbo for a large section of the movie, and really, if he doesn't interject himself and kidnapped a girl. Draven goes back to the grave and Dollar's,
Gone,
he's
yeah.
home.
Back to burning stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, anyone that was watching it could put together that, he was the one sending out the orders to go and clear these apartments or whatever he was doing. So we kind of all knew that, but when you look at the story, Draven doesn't find that out.
Yeah. He puts himself in
not
harm's
really.
way, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Not until the end.
Once he's done with Skank, he's done. He's ready to call it a day.
I think there's something like he's trying to get the power of the crow for himself.
Yeah, well, if he
doesn't really come through.
No, it doesn't at all. They go and get the girl, and it's kind of like they've escaped that, and they don't know Draven's going back to the grave, but if they just leave the girl alone and, go and start day 2 of the Rager, and we go to the safe house and have a smaller Rager there with a couple of the intimate crew members rather than the whole boardroom. Then Top Dollar lives to fight another day.
Who is getting an invite though to the close knit Rager?
Well, I don't know.
He doesn't seem like the kind of leader that would
Dollar.
really care about the hillbilly offshoot group that can't keep their hands to themselves and
crazy bargains on the invite list as well.
Clint
Reject shop.
Yeah.
Reject shop is also a possible attendee.
Red Dot Special got I don't know. It's just if he had to just continue.
Dimmies is getting a run.
Dimmies is supplying, I think. Yeah, call Dimmy and get another package out here.
That stuff doesn't hold water, does it?
I feel like if what Matty said had have happened a little bit more, like he kind of looked at it and said, he seemed to be being directed by the lady he'd met very briefly before the party started. She snorted another line and said, "We need that crow." Then maybe that plays a little better, but it just seemed like they were gone. All they needed to do was leave, and Draven goes back to the grave, like,
or just hand over the hillbilly.
Yeah. Take him. We're leaving.
Have Skank. He's a skank.
Yeah. Mate, I am flipping on him as quick as look at you.
Yeah. Yeah, Skank's the dirty bastard that ate all the fucking spring rolls before anyone else got here, and now everyone else is hungry. All we've got are the drugs and drugs and booze, but we don't have any snacks.
And let me tell you, I cannot snort 3 pounds of cocaine on an empty stomach. I need a Bay Marie minimum. I need something there.
Yeah.
Oh, they could have had some.
Skank ruined it.
They could have had some hot wings
take the bloke.
for Devil's Night.
Yeah. Devil's Night, we'll roast a couple of wings on the closest burning building. At minimum, I need a 24-pack combo sausage rolls party pies. If you don't have that, then you can piss off.
I mean, there was 25 guys there, Jared. You need a full catering crew.
They can afford it.
You can't have like a box
surely.
Yeah, that's all right.
I mean, these guys have got a lot of money and no sense. I mean, they would have had all sorts of stupid shit there.
Yeah. It should have been a full buffet. There was a buffet of one sort on the boardroom table, but yeah, you're right, Adam. Off to the side, we need somebody serving up plates of buffet food there.
And let me tell you something. Those waiters need to be in black tie. Like, it needs to be classy.
Yeah. Well, they can wear the tuxedo top, but the leather pants on the bottom. It's got to be untucked tuxedo top, leather pants down the bottom. That's perfect style. Looks like something out of a Meatloaf video.
Oh, shit. Is there anything else that you most disliked about this film?
The minor one. There's always one little one for me at the end. But the line where he says he's doing the autopsy report on Tintin, and the blades in his organs were stuck in alphabetical order. I'm like, how does he know that? That used to make me cringe when I was a teenager, and it made me cringe when I heard it again. I'd forgotten it, and I was like, oh, I remember not liking that line.
Yeah, a little too specific.
That's a very specific one that a cringe.
Yeah, well, the detective
didn't need to know that.
That detective, he has a couple of those lines.
Yeah.
Those really kind of cheeseball lines about the crew members and how they're dying, and he has a couple of those. I mean, it's not too much because he's only in it like twice. I think he has 2 scenes.
Yeah, he's not
But
a whole lot.
you're right, he rolls out a couple of those, and they're both, several of them are bad.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, that was me. It was a good movie, though. I'm happy with that one.
Yeah, it was good to go back to.
Yeah, I loved revisiting it.
Yeah, so nothing else?
No.
No.
I think we need the prequel leading up to the party now that we've talked it out, though.
Well,
It's like a
honestly, I want to see
It's like a can't
what
hardly
day
wait
3's
style.
got in store if 90% of the clientele have been killed,
Yeah,
including Dollar himself.
that's right.
So, where are we? Who's still there?
Yeah.
Is the cleaning crew in there getting jiggy with it, or what's going on?
That's what I think we need, Adam. We need a can't hardly wait style picture about everyone getting prepared to turn up to the Rager and. Who's doing what, and then the aftermath after everyone's dead. Who did anyone sneak away?
Yeah, exactly.
How did they make a sequel to this? Is my question.
Yeah, you know what? I can't.
It was just
I can't remember.
it was basically the
sequel, but
same
it was-
movie.
I remember it
Done
sucked, but I don't remember a lot
it
about
sucks badly.
it. Yeah,
The comedy version, Evil Dead 2? Like, what? I can't even think
No,
what
it
it would
was-
be.
If I remember rightly, it was basically just the same concept with a different guy.
Sounds horrible.
Him and his girlfriend had also been killed. I can't remember how, but and you had the likes of Iggy Pop as sort of scumbag number 1, and it was really shit. Like it was such a. I mean, I went to the fucking cinemas. I should be ashamed of myself.
Yeah,
I'm
going and seeing it at
outraged.
the cinemas.
can I just?
You're outraged.
Can I also
You're
mention? I actually hired the Crow Wicked Prayer too, the one where Edward Furlong was the Crow and Tara Reid was in it, and that was tragic. It was so bad.
Edward Furlong could easily be replacing the little girl in this. Same look, same acting
Well, I
ability.
believe there was another one in between that had Kirsten Dunst in it, didn't it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Salvation.
Yeah, that's right. I
didn't
don't
see
think that was much good, but it had a little bit more. It had better actors, I think, in it,
Did you happen
at the
to?
very least.
Did you happen to catch any of Mark Dacascos as the Crow on the TV show?
No, I didn't.
Nor did I. I wish I had seen that one.
It went past me. I don't know how.
I think it was very briefly on a kind of midnight showings on one of the channels in between bloody Pensacola, Wings of Gold, and Shasta McNasty
I
or
mean,
some
that's
shit
where
like
you were
that.
getting Renegade, followed by Pensacola, Wings of Gold,
Yeah,
followed by The Crow, Stairway to Heaven.
correct.
I mean, that was the kind of night where you'd just rolled in after a big night on the piss.
Yeah,
You might have found yourself wishing you were still intoxicated.
yeah. Turn up home from the uni bar and find that fucking stuff that Sam Raimi did. That action show that Sam Raimi did with the girls in the future or something, and think, oh, tonight's a good night to kind of check this out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I missed The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. I'm disappointed. As you can hear in the inflection in my voice, I'm disappointed I missed it.
I can hear it.
Exactly. Similar to the disdain I could hear in your voice when you were talking about hosts.
Yes, something like that.
All right, that is The Crow. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. You send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. We're on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and Instagram at thrillmepodcast.au. Make sure you rate and review on iTunes and Podomatic if you can. Keep an eye on our Facebook page for details of the next film. But until then, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.